Welcome to Rennsports TV and the Circuit d'Abbeville here in France. And as you can see, there is some serious machinery behind me, and I'm not talking about the tank. To my left here, the 2.7 RS. It's the must-have for any Porsche collector around the globe. Or is it? Because whilst, yes, the 2.7 RS was the first, just one model year later, Porsche made really a much better car in the 3-litre RS. Faster, lighter. It's also a hell of a lot rarer than the long bonnet Rennsport here. So rare, in fact, you might have not heard of it before. So what is the Carrera 3-litre RS and how does it improve the breed over the original in the 2.7? We're going to find exactly that out today on Rennsports TV. So, as I said, we've got these two fantastic 911 Rennsports behind me, both owned by Johan of the JFD Collection and maintained by 911 Motorsport in Belgium. So, the 2.7 RS, built to homologate the RSR for racing in 1973. Numbers-wise, there were 1,580 produced. Of the 1,580, there were 200 lightweights. And then right at the start of production, you had 17 RSHs, H standing for homologation. And that's what this car is to my left here. How can you tell instantly the difference between a lightweight and a touring? Well, in the background, you can see a touring. You can see the rubber strip with the chrome surround. On the lightweight, it doesn't have that. There's a few other detail changes, but in a nutshell, that is kind of how you can differentiate a touring version from a lightweight. Now, one model year later, in 1974, Porsche released this, the 3-litre RS. It's a rare beast. It's so rare, in fact, you may not have even heard of it prior to watching this instalment of Rennsports TV today. Just 109 of these produced across 1974 and actually a couple in 1975 as well. That figure of 109 covers the RS and the RSR that it would homologate. So in terms of just road-going RS versions of the Carrera 3-litre, it's a real rare beast. In performance terms, as I said, it's a huge leap over this car before it. And in fact, if you look at the rest of the entirety of the 911 Rennsport's 50 years of lineage, there's only one other time that I can think of where just one model year represents such a huge jump in performance, and that was the 964 RS 3.6 versus the 3.8. 210 horsepower on the 2.7 RS. Lightweight specification is 975 kilos weight. The 3-litre RS, 230 horsepower and just 900 kilos weight. Okay, so this is lighter, it's faster. Dynamically, it's much improved as well, as we're about to find out on the track here at Abbeville. I'm going to break the convention and walk around the cars with you in tow for two reasons. Number one, I forgot my tripod. And number two, I want to just take you up close to the cars and see them as I do. So we've got here the 2.7 RS versus the 3-litre. Well, how do they change? Well, I'm hoping even looking at that rear arch now, you can start to see that not only is the 3-litre RS being upgraded to G-body spec with those bumpers, but it's a complete different chassis and footprint, really. It's much wider in terms of track width over the 2.7 RS. It's a slightly longer wheelbase as well. Stiffer suspension, thicker anti-roll bars, different pickup points to allow for more adjustment of camber. The engine is vastly upgraded. We've now got a 911/77 engine in the back of here. It's increased in capacity. It's a lot torquier in the mid-range than the 2.7. And as you can see, it's got this huge aerodynamic aid with the ducktail from the 2.7 being swapped out for this, the whale tail. Now, interestingly, all Carrera 3s actually came with two wings, one of which was this one. They were both whale tails, but this one protrudes from the exterior of the car, so it was a race-only application.
The iconic flares of the 2.7 RS were created for 6x15-inch Fuchs at the front and wider 7x15-inch at the rear. However, the 3-litre RS took things even further. Its monstrous rear arches housing 9-inch Fuchs at the front and 11-inch at the rear in road form. The brakes were also upgraded for the 3-litre RS, using those from the 917. Both, though, use the tried and tested 915 gearbox.
So they're the spec changes between the 2.7 and the 3-litre RS. But how do they drive? Well, let's get the cars out on track here at Abbeville and find out. Right, I cannot believe I'm driving this car. I mentioned the numbers on it. It's not just a 2.7 RS. It's not just a 2.7 RS lightweight. An RSH, I mean, this really is 911 Rennsport Genesis. And on its home turf, really, of the racetrack. But it goes without saying, Johan, I'm so grateful for the opportunity. So, look, this was like the epitome, really, of the long hood 911 generation before the switch over to the G series in '74. Not only did the engine get an increase in capacity to 2.7 litres, it got Bosch, mechanical fuel injection, wider Fuchs, front and rear. But then also it was like the first foray really into like meaningful aerodynamics, with reference to the Bertzel, the ducktail on the back, as the first road-going sports car to have a rear wing. So this car was the pinnacle of the long hood era, and it is such a joy to drive. So within the context of these long hood cars, it is quick, it is sprightly, it has a decent turn of pace, but there is quite a lot of body roll. The lightweight bucket seats will hold you in place a hell of a lot better than the standard Recaros. I can see Maxi in the 3-litre RS catching me up. There we go. It's almost like a slinky under acceleration. The nose of the car lifts. There's that classic 911 handling characteristics. And in the corners as well, there's a lot of body roll, but it's all really wonderfully manageable. Past 4, and that's 5. I don't want to push it too much because it's not my car. Sweating profusely here, probably out of nerves more than anything. Hard onto the brakes, braking late just to get that nose to tuck. It's incredible. It's a lovely, lovely motor. It loves to be revved. Loves to be revved. Right, I'm going to call it a day because I'm very aware of what this car is. I'm sweating profusely. And I've got the wide hips of a 3-litre RS behind me. Time to find out what it's like to drive.
To surmise then, while the 2.7 RS lightweight feels the most sprightly, most nimble version of the early 911 and what we call the long bonnet era, it does feel every bit its 51 years of age and very much a classic, vintage car. There's an almost hilarious amount of pitch and roll, while the brakes take an age to scrub speed. Even the large, thin steering wheel feels awkward to hold, and it's quite weighty too. Let's see what difference one model year makes with the 3-litre RS.
Right, let's do this up. This, ladies and gentlemen of Nineworks TV, is nothing but the greatest privilege. 3-litre RS, Rennsport, rare Rennsport royalty.
And it didn't take long, precisely 1.5 corners and 500 yards, for the 3-litre RS to reveal itself as a different beast entirely.
This is so different. Oh yeah, so you just have to bully that gearbox in. Even just the steering wheel, in terms of being smaller diameter and being lower, is a vast improvement over the 2.7. There's so much more grunt. The brakes are sublime. 917 brakes, don't forget, and you really notice the difference. The other thing is, this thing corners so flat in comparison to the 2.7. Okay, so much more mid-range punch than the 2.7. That extra 20 newtons of torque really noticeable at around 4 grand. Oh, now we're getting into it. Oh, it's so much more stable at vastly higher speeds. Slight lift there. Oh yeah. It just, everything makes sense. It's stiffer. It's definitely dartier at the front of the car, but front and rear just feels so much more stable. And then you remember that in race spec, you can fit much wider Fuchs, front and rear, and that's why when you look at the rear of this in road trimmers here, it looks a little bit anemic just where you've got the 9-inch wheels, when actually it can fit 11-inch wide or 14-inch wide at the rear. Monumental for RSR spec. So revvy, but it's fairly easy to drive, dare I say. The nose is so much more willing to tuck and actually is so much more flatter than the 2.7 RS through the corner. It's just so much more assured than that 2.7 RS. I can't believe there's only one model year between these cars. The front of the car is just so much more pointier, so much sharper. So wonderfully communicative. I feel like I know what it's going to do. It's amazing how, and it's typical Porsche Rennsport, those few tweaks all adding up to something monumental. Well, in the 3-litre RS, the tweaks are massive, and the end result is even bigger. A race car for the road, 50 years old, and it's still delivering handsomely. So there we have it, the end of a really fun day on track with these two iconic 911 Rennsports. What have we learned? Well, the 2.7 RS, it is a legend. It is worthy of being in any serious Porsche collector's garage. However, for real connoisseurs, the 3-litre RS is the better 911 Rennsport in pretty much every way. Not only is it better than its predecessor in the 2.7 RS, I'd actually say it's one of the best air-cooled 911 Rennsports, full stop. It really is that good. And might I add how easy that car is to drive, considering it is a bona fide race car. It's an incredible piece of engineering, but it sits in a weird corner of Porsche history, again, due to the extremely low numbers made. Not a lot of people know about it. I hope this video has changed that and underlined and rubber stamped its status as, certainly in my opinion, the king of the Luft Rennsports. Thanks to Johan and the JFD Collection for allowing us access to these fantastic cars today, and the team at 911 Motorsport Belgium for the pristine maintenance of the cars. If you want to find out more about those, check out the website 911motorsport.be. And we'll see you again soon on another episode of 9works TV.